The Big 12 Experience, Oklahoma State Cowboys 2024 team preview edition of the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Sign up today using that promo code TCESGPN to claim your first time deposit offer up to $250 bonus in cash. Underdog Fantasy promo code TCESGPN. And we're also brought to you by Rhythm. Rhythm's college football and NFL projections are now live. Claim your 7-day free trial today by going over to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That is the sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITHMM today. And welcome everybody into the Big 12 College Experience, part of the Sports Gambling Podcast Network, Oklahoma State Cowboy preview. And well, if you watch this show, you know we love us some Oklahoma State Cowboys, aka Mike Gundy. This team was a darling of ours a year ago, almost hit that 40-1. Came up just short in the title game, but hey, you know what? They gave us a run. They got us to Dallas. Maybe they get over the hump this year. Hell, they bring back their whole team. First off, if you're wondering who you're listening to and who these other guys are, I am Moneyline Mac, a.k.a. the former video coordinator for Bob Huggins and Frank Martin. And we're talking Big 12 football, so I'm joined by a walking contradiction himself because he was born in Provo, Utah. He's got family in Ames, Iowa. He lives in Morgantown, West Virginia. Co-host of the Ryan and Rush Show, Rambling Rush. How about them Cowboys?
Indeed hurt BYU at the end of the season last year to prevent them from a bowl game. But hey, they at least made something out of it, went to the Big 12 championship in a lot of close games last year. West Virginia, our team being one of them as well. Looking forward to going to Stillwater again this year. So, well, maybe I'm not, because it seems like Gundy always has West Virginia's number. The one year we got him, it didn't matter. It was to go 5-7. So, hey, it's a great team we're covering, as Troy knows quite well. We kind of think of this team as an every other year team, but this is the one maybe where they pulled together 2 consecutive Big 12 championship appearances. Looking forward to seeing what the team is made of this year.
Indeed. And you guys know this other guy, third man in the box. He's an Oklahoma State Cowboy fan himself because he's fighting a family civil war in the towns of Stillwater, Waco, Fort Worth. He's got Orlando, Cincinnati. He's all over the Big 12. He is the green mowing, weed growing Big 12 guru. Troy Chewning, what is up?
See, I think the scary part is this still might be an every other year team, and they just happened to kind of catch lightning in a bottle last year and outperform what they should have done. So, you know, they did have some luck on their schedule last year. It was a little fluffed up for them to make their run there late in the year, but you know, they got Oklahoma in the very last matchup. So if there's one thing that Mike Gundy's going to do, he's going to get like at least a couple of fuck yous in. And that's the reason why, I mean, we love this team. I know they always seem to get West Virginia, but they're still such an entertaining team to watch. And you got a coach that's like, man, people drive drunk, whatever. I've done it 1,000 times. It's no big deal.
That was nuts. I forgot about that.
He's just he's a real guy. I mean, he knows he's bulletproof in Stillwater, and it's awesome.
Yeah. A mistake, all of us have made a lot of times.
Just 2 or 3 he's talking about. That's Coach Gundy, subscriber of the Big 12 College Experience. Shout out to Troy's memes. Let's review Coach Gundy. He's been there 20 years. He's won all he does is win basically 7, 8, plus 9 games every year. 166-79, 102-63. And I'm gonna give Gundy credit. He did a hell of a job of taking the spotlight off Ollie Gordon of the drunk driving incident and putting it upon himself to be the measure of the blood alcohol intake. He's just like, come on, man. If I've gone to a happy hour, had a couple too many and got behind the wheel, it's the 80s, right? No, Gundy, it's not. You probably should have kept it to yourself, but I appreciate you taking the spotlight off your best player. Troy, I know you agree.
Yeah, I mean, especially at the college level, is if you can get the media talking about you instead of about the actual issue, then you bypass that easily. He said the punishment was going to be he's going to give him the ball 40 times against South Dakota State. So if I was South Dakota State, I know they're a good football program, but that doesn't really seem like too much of a punishment to Ollie Gordon or Oklahoma State. It seems like more of a, oh no, it looks like we're playing a team that people are, they're hyped about this first week. They think there's an upset chance here. We didn't really do this in the non-con last year, but watch us pound the rock with Ollie Gordon starting in the beginning of the year instead of 3.5 weeks in. Man, he can do no wrong. He had the video of him dropping it like it's hot with the news media producers in the booth. It's the greatest thing in the world. Put his I know we talked about it last year. Put his mansion up for sale that looks like if you gave just a couple of random deer bow hunters like billions of dollars, whatever they would create, that's exactly what Mike Gundy's house looked like. And I guess he's downsizing. He's going to concentrate more on the football side of things now, and maybe not drive home blasted as much as he used to back in the day.
You think he is? The election's in November. He's going to have a couple things to say between now and then. Rush, your thoughts on Gundy? We're
also coach? We're one OAN. Like before the season can start, we need one more like OAN storyline out of Gundy.
It'll happen. It's Gundy. He's going to get his jabs in there. He did make a politics. What was his comment at Media Day? Something they said, maybe they asked him about Dion, and he goes, "Is that all you guys got? I thought you guys were going to ask who I was voting for in November." So Gundy being Gundy, but Rush, what about Gundy the coach, man?
He practices what he preaches from that infamous press conference. What was that, back in 2007 or whatever, when he's like, "Put it on me." He literally put it on himself with the whole drunk driving thing. So, hey, he just knows what to say. He knows he's untouchable in Stillwater. And hey, it's for someone that talks and acts the way he does, he backs it up. So that's why no one really ever goes near him, because we've all talked about it. You can talk smack all you want. As long as you back it up, no problems from us.
And he beat Oklahoma in the final game.
Yeah.
So he's always going to have that. We'll talk about a scenario where they actually could play again. There is a college football playoff that if the schedule broke a certain way, maybe they could match up. But as of right now, Bedlam is gone, unfortunately. Real quick, get over there and check out the Sports Gambling Podcast, where they just launched all 34 or 32 NFL teams. They're going to have 34 when they go to Brazil and London, or wherever the hell they're going. And they're giving away $500 circa futures for listeners, plus the EPL return. So make sure you check out the Soccer Gambling Podcast and the EPL Gambling Podcast for your footy fix. How about that? Subscribe wherever you get your podcasts and in the SGPN app.
Footy fix, not Rex Ryan footish fetish. So everyone, let's make that clear.
Yes. Thank you, Rush, for making that clear. All right, so this preview is actually going to be, I guess Iowa State was like this. They basically return everybody. We'll start with the offense. They bring back their whole offensive line. They bring back Bowman. They bring back Ollie Gordon, who's the best running back in the country. They got the receivers back, Presley. Troy, break down this offense. This was the strength of the team by far last year.
And I assume it'll probably be the strength of the team again. Like I was saying in the chat before we even started the show, looking at this depth chart is scary. It's not something that you see in modern college football, and it is fucking beautiful. Like, if you're a true college football fan, you should be rooting for teams like this to do well. And, maybe punk some of the kids that don't deserve to act the way that they do coming out of high school, or, I didn't get my first $100,000 NIL check on the first of the month. I'm transferring schools, blah, 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 blah. Fuck you. Work harder. Hang out at the same school and figure out what you're doing wrong and get better at it. And they seem to have a whole team of guys that have done that. 7-year quarterback. And he was probably the weakness of the team last year. Out of everything on the offensive side, his game was probably what held them back a little bit. And it's not like Alan Bowman's a bad quarterback, but if there's anything to pick apart about this team, he can't throw 14 interceptions this year again. If he can limit that number to, 9. You're talking about a team that's going to think they have a shot at winning this league in Dallas for sure. If he can limit that, but you get Presley back, who's great. Rashod Owens still really good. Dejon Stribling, if he can stay healthy, really good. The offensive line, I hate to say that they're expected to take a step forward as a whole team because of what they return, but they are. They remind me a lot of that West Virginia team of last year. Just looking at the depth chart and realizing like they're going to be able to control the tempo of almost every single game they play in. And they're not really going to be big underdogs in anything. Like even the tough games they play, they're not going to be huge underdogs. They're going to have a chance at some of these teams that are, a little bit higher predicted to finish in the Big 12. But yeah, if there's one thing that I can put on the whole offense, it would be you need Alan Bowman to make a little bit better decisions when he's throwing the ball and maybe air it out to the sidelines a couple more times and limit those interceptions.
Completely agree. And he only started 9 games. Remember, they had the open quarterback committee to start the year. Rush, what's your takeaway with this offense where everybody's about 25 years old?
Yeah, so you brought up one point that I had was maybe let's have Alan Bowman take on the whole non-conference schedule, maybe fix a couple kinks early in the season there. But in a weird way, it worked out for them last year. The one player that they are bringing in, Tyler Foster, the 6'6", 255 tight end from Ohio. So a big Midwest guy. They're bringing the Stillwater there. I think he had like 20 receptions for 200 yards last year. So 0 touchdowns. So what does that tell you? Gundy found himself a nice blocking tight end, and they're 3 fullbacks deep. So just like Troy was saying, this old school offense is going to take charge, and oh man, they're going to be fun to watch. Hope they do well, except when West Virginia goes out there. But hey, in the age of college football, the evolution of college football, I mean, seems like 2 schools remain the same, and that's Iowa State and Oklahoma State. So it's kind of refreshing.
We need an Oklahoma State Clemson national championship. That would be the biggest FU to this era. It'd be the greatest thing ever.
Yeah, everybody would gather in the middle of the field right before the game and like out loud say a prayer, and it would just break everybody who's watching college football. All of media would be broken. We got 2 25-year-old QBs going head to head. That would be just the biggest FU.
And the biggest question mark, Troy, you already alluded to is, well, Bowman needs to cut down on the interceptions. That's number one, especially when you're running for 200 plus yards a game. There's no reason you should have 14 interceptions on the year. I mean, you're a game manager. But year 2 of Brian Nardo as a defensive coordinator, remember this was the bold decision where he came over and replace the longtime defensive coordinator who went over to Ohio State. Do we think that they take a jump here? Do we think that they take a jump in year 2 of this defensive system, Troy?
I mean, it's weird. The defense wasn't really that strong last year. In typical Oklahoma State fashion, they really kind of play a style of defense where they're looking to make big plays and turn the ball over, and in turn they give them up as well. So that's just kind of something as an Oklahoma State fan you learn to accept. And the years where they've been a good football team, that defense turns the ball over of the other team significantly more, and it's totally worth it. I do think they'll take a little bit of a step, but you return 10 guys, you hope that you're taking a step, but you're not like returning 10 guys from a defense that you really looked at last year and thought, the last 4 or 5 games of the year, like, wow, they're really turning into something. No, they just kind of got carried by Ollie Gordon and played like a bend, don't break style. At least you have Nick Martin back at linebacker. I know the 2 safeties they have back between Daniels and Rucker both are they had big tackle numbers last year, but I don't know if you want your safeties leading the team in tackles. Typically, it's better if the guy's not getting all the way to the safety when there's run plays where they're making stops. But I'm pretty interested to see how Gundy does with Obi Ezigbo. They got the Division II transfer from Gannon University that they're going to hope.
Nardo came from.
Yeah, where Nardo came from. They're going to hope that their edge rush, I don't know, they're maybe taking a Mike Norvell play here, going and getting a Division II guy that has all the measurables that looks like they should be good, and maybe you put them in a system where there's a couple other better players, or the other team's more worried about trying to stop Oklahoma State's running game, and you kind of get like a B performance from the other team's offense because they're really concentrated on defense, and maybe Oklahoma State's defense looks a little bit better because of that. I guess you're just really hoping that with the tempo control of the offense, that the defense can kind of just adjust and play well enough to keep them in games. But if they do take even a half a step forward from last year, I think that puts them in a really, really good position with everything they have on the other side of the ball.
Watch, Obi's going to be the best player for them. Come out of Division II, Gundy's going to have him firing. Yeah, I think the whole bend don't break style for this defense works quite well, especially when you have Ollie Gordon as the running back, and Gundy can do more of his time management and grind out that clock. That's obviously going to help your defense out a lot. Kind of going back to what you're saying, because it's all related, even though it's on the other side of the ball. If Alan Bowman can reduce his interceptions, like you were saying, Troy, by getting to single digits, I mean, that's an extra possession or two for your defense, which can prove absolutely pivotal. So if they do take that half step, full step forward in kind of that bend don't break style, and now they're getting a little bit of extra rest because of the reduced turnovers and Ollie Gordon taking over on offense, then late in this game the defense will have more options in what they can do. So they really set up here to move forward, and I like it. Kind of that bend don't break style. I mean, it can definitely take you a long way, especially when you have such a seasoned coach that is good with clock management and putting the ball in your best player's hands, Ollie Gordon. So it really help out the defense a lot.
The schedule is challenging. We'll dive into that and look at the futures market on the other side. But first, we got to talk about Underdog Fantasy. You can go 8-0 and win 325 times your entry. Check out our best ball mania that we've already started. Me and Nick did a draft last week. We're going to be doing it all year long. Use our promo code right above, TCESGPN, to claim your special pick and first-time deposit. Offer up to $250 bonus in cash. That is the Underdog Fantasy promo code, TCESGPN. And you're going to want to follow all our accounts. We're going to be giving out best ball and underdog lineups for the Big 12 all year long. But reminder, use our promo code TCESGPN. All righty, back over here talking Oklahoma State Cowboy football. The over-under, this is another one that's kind of juiced a little bit to the under, is at 8.5. 8-1. So Vegas says 8-4, 8-1 to win the Big 12, 251 to win the Gundy National Championship. Early lean, Troy, on that 8.5.
I mean, I'm pulling the national championship future for sure.
There you go.
No doubt. Like with this experience of a team, I've seen dumber teams win national titles than this, especially with a 12-team playoff. If they don't get the top seed and they get a chance to like host the first round game and can kind of get Ollie Gordon rolling, I would be scared of playing this team.
Rush, where's your early lean with the Cowboys?
I think I'm leaning with the over. I think last year, even with them going 9-3, right, we saw them lose to South Alabama, and then one was just a lay down to UCF, and then that great game against Iowa State to open up the Big 12 season. I think they can learn from that last year, go 3-0. I know we'll talk about it in their non-con. Really, their toughest game on the road is that at Kansas State game. I mean, it's a tough back-to-back to open the Big 12 against Utah, against Kansas State. I mean, at least you have Utah at home, and that could be a welcome to the Big 12 for Utah. But especially a couple of these teams we got to feel out more, but especially their latter part of the schedule really isn't terrible. This isn't a bad schedule for Oklahoma State. I'm actually going to lean towards them being 9-3 or better.
I think I do as well. And I want to point out, Rush, I know you mentioned it, and I've heard it from multiple people that they kind of Oklahoma State's kind of an every other year team. I've dove in a little bit more to that. They're kind of a 3-year solid 8-9, be in the top 3, and then every 4 years they will drop to like 5 or 6. So, like, for example, kind Gundy won 3 straight 10-win seasons from 15 to 17, then in 18 had a 7-6. Then it was 8-5, 8-3, 12-2. Then they dropped to 7-6 last year, back to 10-4. So I think people just have the bad taste in their mind from 2 years ago when they kind of fell off the rails down the stretch. They started 5-0, and then Spencer Sanders, things went south there, and I think they also were super injured that year. So I think it's a little bit of a false narrative that they're every other year. I think it's more so every 4 years that they kind of come back to the pack. But let's dive into the schedule, because they're going to start off with South Dakota State, the defending FCS national champions. This line is 8, so this is not a gimme, Oklahoma State fans. I hope you guys know that. And then they got Arkansas at home. Do we have them starting 2-0 with those two tough tests?
I actually have them at 2-0.
I have them at 2-0 as well.
I think maybe Arkansas will not. I mean, that's not a gimme either, but I do think that they've got a little bit more physicality on the offensive side than either of those two schools have. And as the game runs late, Ollie runs wild.
I also think that they remember the South Alabama game, the embarrassment, and I think it's going to be in their back of their minds. And I think Gundy uses that as motivation. And they're not playing 3 quarterbacks again. They're playing Bowman. They're playing with their starting unit right from the get-go. So I think they do beat South Dakota State as well. I do think they beat Arkansas in Stillwater 2-0. At Tulsa, there'll be a shitload of Oklahoma State fans. Troy, I got them at 3-0. How about you?
Yeah, I do have him at 3-0 here. I think the way that the schedule works out for Gundy, I think he knows that getting the non-con is going to matter a lot more this year than it has in seasons past.
Yeah.
3-0 as well before they start Big 12 play. I actually think they're going to beat Arkansas pretty good. I think South Dakota State will be a closer game than it will Arkansas. And to clarify, too, before we get into the Big 12 conversation here, is every other year in terms of being in the Big 12 championship or having a chance at the Big 12 championship. I know other schools every other year we seem like, oh, bowl game, not bowl game, but in terms of contention for the Big 12.
All right, so right off the bat, welcome to the Big 12, Utah, going to Stillwater. This game is absolutely fantastic. You got the two 20-year head coaches, both identical records, identical track records, basically. I got Gundy at home. He's already talked about this. They got this thing circled. He's already watching Utah film. I think they give Utah a welcome to the Big 12. Troy?
Gundy, 4-0. This should be an absolutely awesome game, though, like you said. I don't think that this should be punch, counter punch for 4 quarters.
Yeah. I'll take Gundy's mullet in this game. I think they go 4-0 as well, but might start getting let down here in the next game at Kansas State.
Yeah, I have them losing in the Little Apple. Revenge from the Friday night game that we all hammered Oklahoma State. They were like a 14-point dog, winning outright. Then Gundy was surfing in the locker room. Next thing you know, they were off to the Big 12 title. I got them 4-1.
I strategically didn't do the Kansas State preview, so Gundy 5-0.
Oh, there you go.
I was going to say, I really do think this Oklahoma State team has a chance to maybe lose one game.
I hope they're 5-0 because of the following week, but I have a feeling this is where they lay one. It seems like they always lay one early in Big 12 play. I think that is this one for Oklahoma State. 4-1 after Manhattan.
Troy, do you have them 6-0?
I do.
You got to beat West Virginia too. Oh man!
I mean, West Virginia is. If there's one team, no matter how good they are, that I would still lean to Oklahoma State, it seems to be West Virginia. Just with nothing. I mean, this year's team has nothing to do with last year's team and all the cliche stuff. It's just Oklahoma State seems to get it done against West Virginia.
Yeah, unfortunately, I have them beating our Mountaineers. Rush, I think you do too.
Yeah. So the issue with this game for West Virginia is obviously they have Penn State, then Albany, who was the top 4 team in the FCS last year, then at Pitt, and then you have Kansas at home. The good side is then you have a bye and then play Oklahoma State. So it is a well-timed bye for West Virginia going to Oklahoma State. I'm more than happy to be wrong, Timothy Green, but I do think Oklahoma State beats West Virginia in this because it's just what history shows. Now, I'm all fine with this being the outlier this year and West Virginia getting this game, and maybe they end up, Oklahoma State actually beats Kansas State, but yeah, I only have one loss for Oklahoma State after this West Virginia game.
If they win, if they win in Manhattan, I think West Virginia can get them.
I agree.
Yeah,
they'll go 1-1 in the Kansas. They'll go 2-1 in the Utah, Kansas State, West Virginia.
I agree.
Which would still be a huge W.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Out of those 3 schools to get 2 wins would be, I mean, that's probably the realistic goal, but since I have them going undefeated, they have to win all those games.
All right, so Troy's got him 6-0, Rush and I 5-1, and quite frankly, their schedule, like from a talent standpoint, is favorable, except they got some road games. So this next stretch at BYU, at Baylor, back-to-back road spots.
They do have a bye before BYU.
Yeah. Do they get out of this 2-0?
I would think after the bye, even if they were to lose one of the games coming into the bye,
You're going to lose at Baylor.
I would think that this is this is right when you're about to hit the classic Gundy stretch. Whatever they've done before this bye is not going to matter. This is when they really start to roll. I actually have them winning both of these away games against BYU and Baylor.
I think they split these away games. I could actually see, of course, now, BYU beats Oklahoma State now when it doesn't matter for them, especially if they're struggling this season to make up for last year. The good news for Oklahoma State is they have a bye before BYU, and BYU has to play Arizona. It's in Provo, but that's a tough task for BYU Arizona than Oklahoma State. I'm gonna say I'm gonna just go 1-1 in these away games. So they'll find one then maybe they can win a close one at BYU, and then they kind of similar to the UCF game last year. Baylor beats them pretty good.
Yeah, the Baylor spot seems scary.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And where is Baylor in terms of that schedule? They're coming off Lubbock. Hold on one second, because Oklahoma State from there goes Arizona State, then at TCU. I think they lose at Baylor or at TCU or at BYU. I think they lose one of those 3 road games. So I got them going 3-1 in this stretch, which gets them to 8-2 coming down the stretch. Troy, how about you?
I mean, they beat Arizona State, so that's at least a W. And for me, that would be hitting the over this early in the season at 9-0. And then I have them going on the road and beating TCU as well.
Woo! He's got to win all these road games.
I probably agree with you, Ryan, that they'll go 2-1 in all those away games. They'll beat Arizona State. I think that TCU game is going to be, that's going to be a grinded out game for them.
Then they get a nice bye. Gundy gets them right. Texas Tech at home, and then at Colorado. They're winning these 2, and especially if that's for a chance to go to the Big 12 title. Colorado's already out of the mix. They'll quit. They'll be on load management. They'll be talking about their draft stock, even though they're 5-7 or whatever they are. Oklahoma State 10-2 for me.
Again, like we were talking about before the show, Texas Tech is a real wrench this year in all of our going through the schedules and trying to decide, the taste from last year of them having a little bit of hype and then not really showing anything versus now they have no hype. And that's typically when Texas Tech kind of pulls a couple of these upsets that you're not expecting. Luckily, this one's not in Lubbock, so I don't really have too much of a fear taking Oklahoma State. But I'm really tempted to take Colorado in that last game with Oklahoma State coming in at 11-0.
Keep in mind this. This is Colorado, the front-running team. In the cold, last week, that run defense against Ollie Gordon in the cold, he's going to run for 500 yards on their hats.
Yeah, I'll take Oklahoma State to go 12-0.
So I'm going to have a little bit of fun here. I think the poke choke. His head sneaks out here. They lose to Texas Tech, but beat Colorado. I feel like they're due for one home loss. I feel like just that Oklahoma State does that.
The poke choke does exist for a reason.
It does.
So Troy's got him at the Homer 12-0 pick. Rush is 9-3. I have 10-2. Rush's scenario, I don't think they get to
No, because
Dallas.
there's 3 Big 12 losses. That's why I'm saying the Texas Tech gets him. Texas Tech wins the guns up battle.
Yeah. Well, I guess
against known OAN 2A supporter Mike Gundy.
There is a scenario where a 3-team, but you better get your calculator and scenarios out if you need a miracle to get 3 losses in. Real quick, we'll talk about futures and ceiling versus Troy already gave out his ceiling, and then the floor as well. Football season is here, and so is college football and the NFL with their new models. And you're going to want to download Rhythm. Use the AI data scientists to help build your algorithm, your model. They got college football week 0 right around the corner. NFL week 1. I'll take the Yellow Jackets plus that number week 0 plus 13. Keep it close. Claim your 7-day free trial today by going over to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That is the sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITHMM. And we're also brought to you by Circa. Surviving Circa Millions, $16 million in guaranteed prizes. Don't have your trip booked already to Circa? Well, we can help you out. Use our promo code SGP15 to save 15% off your hotel rooms and stay for the weekend, August 22 through 24. With Ryan and Sean will be out there. And if you can't go in person to sign up at Circa, well, you can participate in a proxy with our proxy.footballcontest.com to save you $50 off with the promo code SGP. All right, let's talk ceiling, floor, how we get there. We'll go. Troy already gave out his ceiling. Okay. Rush, what's your ceiling?
You win all 12 games.
What's your ceiling? 11-1? 11-1? 10-2?
I'll go 10-2. I feel like they're going to drop 2 games. The Big 12 is just too close together. Not like it's hard to go 11-1 or 12-0 in the Big 12. It's really hard.
Yeah, that would be 5-1 on the road. I think 11-1 is my absolute ceiling if they get a bunch of good breaks and their only loss is at K-State. Floor.
So what I see out of their floor is
7-5, right?
I think 8-4 actually, which is why I would be very, very heavy on this over 8.5, because there's a lot of scenarios where they end up with 9 or 10 wins. And, Ryan saying 11-1, we can even throw out the fact that I took them to go 12-0. There's not too many scenarios here where I see them coming up multiple games short of that 8.5. I think when you get to the last 2 weeks, you're going to have a real shot at hitting that over. But I think if they lose one of the non-con games, and then one of those games in that group of Utah, K-State, and West Virginia before the bye, and they can get through that 3 out of 4 road stretch with just 1 loss and maybe 1 to Texas Tech at the end, that puts them at 8-4. I think that's pretty close to their floor. I mean, maybe 7-5, but those are way too close to the over-under number for me to not hit the over with, extra juice to it.
This is your yearly reminder that he has won 7 or more games every year since 2006. So 7-5 is my floor. Rush.
Yeah, I agree with 7-5. This South Dakota State game really scares me for Oklahoma State. And I think if we're talking floor, maybe they drop that one. I'm more confident for them against Arkansas and at Tulsa.
Oh, yeah.
They dropped the game in Manhattan. They maybe even Utah. And then let's say they lose to BYU or at Baylor, and then like a late season choke against Texas Tech or Colorado. So 7-5.
7-5. All right. So we all lean to the over. Troy loves the over. I really like the over. I know a lot of people think that they're not a big expectations team. I know that's kind of all the Big 12 teams is when there's expectations, usually they don't live up to it. But I feel like Gundy's one of the exceptions. Gundy's been has been a sustained winner in this league for years and years. And everybody's talking about Whittingham going on a special ride. Maybe it's Gundy. Gundy's going in the same year in Stillwater as Whittingham. So he's got the most experience coming back. He's got the most production coming back. Lots to like. Hopefully Ollie Gordon stays healthy and he runs 50 times against South Dakota State. Troy, we like 8-1 to win the Big 12, definitely.
Yeah, for sure. I think the whole expectations thing kind of gets tampered by the fact that they have so much experience coming back on this team. A lot of the times those high expectation college football teams, there's 2 or 3 young guys that you're really leaning on to show up and play as if they were seniors right away. You're obviously expecting these actual seniors and redshirt juniors to play like seniors. And from what I saw last year, and to bring everybody back, I really like 8-1. I mean, it's no 40-1, but we'll take the 8-1 for sure.
Yeah.
8-1 has good value in it. I agree there. I to be fair too, I know a lot of people like this Oklahoma State team, but I don't feel like everyone's on them like Utah or Kansas State. I feel like there's still just enough of people backing off where they're not like this true favorite that ends up choking their Big 12 season away. It seems like they're placed just right. Everyone's aware of what they are, but no one is taking them as seriously as they should. And I feel like Gundy winning and proving people wrong is a tale as old as time. And he absolutely has the ability to do that again this year.
Yes, Tim.
What's that? Do you think that Gundy?
He would John Elway the fuck out of that. That would
my God.
See ya.
Hey,
he'd never be sober again.
Let me paint a scenario here because this is realistic.
Oh yeah.
What if Oklahoma State wins the Big 12 and Oklahoma and Texas both miss the college football playoff and have to watch from their couches Oklahoma State not only be in the college football playoff, but get a bye when they win the Big 12? How great would that fucking be, Cowboy fans?
What would almost be better would be Oklahoma or Texas get that like number 2 or that number 3 SEC team bid, and they have to play Oklahoma State, who still gets the number 2 bid because we have a 12-team playoff now, and they realize that what we gained was just money. Like, we're not really gaining any notoriety for our program. And then Gundy beats him again.
Dude, they're actually, the more and more I think about it, like in Oklahoma, like if Oklahoma State got like the 3 or 4 seed, Texas could be the 5 or 6 seed. They could draw Texas in that second round, or Oklahoma could be like the 11th seed. I don't know.
Yeah.
Rush, are we crazy?
No, I mean, it lines up just right. I mean, the Big 12, it's really going to take some extra effort for the Big 12 to get 2 teams in there. But hey, I would love like what would it be? 6-11 Bedlam matchup. I think that's a lot more possible than people are talking
in
about.
Stillwater.
So it would probably be in Norman.
Unfortunately,
Norman. Stillwater would be great, but it's going to be in Norman.
We basically got to have 2 undefeateds in the Big 12 title game somehow. It's got to be K-State and Utah to get a 6 seed, because if we do backdoor and get a second team in there, they're going to be like the 11 or 10 seed just because they want to jam that SEC and Big 10. I don't know why Big 10's in the same breath as SEC, but
Oklahoma State doesn't play Arizona. We could have a 11-0 or 12-0 Oklahoma State against 11-1 Arizona in the Big 12 title, and if Arizona beats them,
hell, you could have OK State, Iowa State. I think you want to get that. There is a formula you kind of have to do with the scheduling to figure out how to get these Big 12 teams in there, but all the ones that we just named they're likely scenarios.
Yep. I prefer the scenario where Texas and Oklahoma miss and Oklahoma State gets the bye. I like that one because I can tell you, I'll be trolling, Troy will be trolling, Rush will be trolling, and this guy will sure as hell be trolling if he's got a bye and those other 2 are sitting there watching the college football playoff. Oh man, I can't wait for the season. Can't wait for Oklahoma State. Love this program. Love Gundy. Obviously, as everybody can listen over the last year or so. He's one of the good guys in college football, one of the staples, and what makes this sport so great and this league great. So he's the dawn of the league now with Oklahoma and Texas out. I know Whittingham is just as long tenure, but he's new to the league. But Gundy's the face and voice of the league. Rush, before we get out of here, plug what we got going on over at the Ryan and Rush Show. We got plenty of Big 12 content over the next couple weeks.
Yeah, we're doing our version of the previews on the Ryan and Rush Show. Go check us out. We're bringing in local media from each and every team, though. So definitely come out, check out their spin, a little more details there. So it's going well. And I think Gundy could bring an OAN shirt this year, and it should be like Oklahoma ain't nothing. So like just spell it out. So, yeah. But obviously we'll all read between the lines. But so we got to make that shirt and send it to him.
Yeah.
He would wear it.
Oh,
hell yeah.
Cut off the sleeves. We'll cut them off for him.
Subscriber to the Big 12 College Experience.
Make him a Belichick hoodie that says Oklahoma ain't nothing.
That'd be great.
Troy, what you got going on, man?
Nats are out of town, so I get to play golf all the time.
Nice.
Banging these out, but yeah, not much really. Just getting ready to watch football and talk about football and actually have more than, I mean, now that the Olympics are closed, I don't have crazy 7-sport parlays on, so there's no skin in the game right now. But, you know, I say this every year on the show because of the time that we're doing previews. Chinese Taipei and Curacao are your Little League World Series bets. Every year you start off and you bang Chinese Taipei and Curacao to win the international pool, and you bet them to win the overall Little League World Series, and then pick like California or something. And you're covered. You'll win. And you can bet on 12-year-olds. It's nothing like betting on 12-year-olds.
Your Little League World Series betting advice for today. He's at Rambling Rush. I'm at Troy Chewning. Sorry. He's at Rambling. Yeah, he's at Rambling Rush. He is at Troy Chewning. Those are their handles. I'm at Moneyline_Mac. We are the Big 12 College Experience. Go check out all our other content, college football experience, college basketball experience going live here. About 20 minutes. Coach Sargent of the Wright State Raiders. Subscribe, like all our channels. And we are out of here. TCU and Texas Tech on deck this week. Go Pokes.